Hi, Eric Lanask here at the Rio in Las Vegas. We're at ITEXPO. I'm talking with Eric Knight from Simplewan. Eric, thanks for joining me on the program.
Thank you.
So, you were just telling me off camera, a little bit about how the current iteration of your business came to be. How did that all work out for you?
We used to be a hosted VoIP provider. We were early on. We did it
Mhm.
about 10 years, and we recently moved away from that this year and split it with the Simplewan company, which has been in operation for about a year and a half. And what Simplewan is it's a cloud-based router designed for the people we are competing against. So the hosted VoIP providers out there, POS providers, security IT people that want to centrally manage a firewall system that's constantly automatically patched. If you were to make a rule set or do a security thing that puts them out of PCI compliance or HIPAA compliance, it's going to alert them. It's basically the modern day equivalent of your security monitoring service for your home or office alarm system, and everything's part of that. And it's a subscription-based service. We put very inexpensive devices on site, and we call them nodes. And literally, they get all their information and things like that from our cloud-based management. They're very easy to switch out. They're all backed up. It's a really cool technology, and there's a lot of cool features and functions in there that a lot of the firewall market really hasn't hit yet.
So, why did you decide to go in this direction?
Well, we saw a massive need for it, is what it came down to. Again, there's nothing out there like it. A lot of companies there's a lot of startups out there that are trying to get there. And you look at the companies that are major manufacturers of firewalls, they're really not providing it either. They're not providing the tools to diagnose complicated things like voice and video. Voice and video is very complicated to support. We did, like I said, VoIP for a very long time. And it's not like your normal network services when a web server's down or something like that. It's very complicated. They take different paths. So when you're talking on the phone, when you're talking, it's going one way through the internet, and what you're hearing back is going a different way. And most of the time, the users don't see that, nor do they care. Troubleshooting that, if somebody says, oh, I have a quality issue, or I can't see a video feed, or this is down, they'd call the provider up, and the provider, it would take us literally a day or two to figure this out. With the toolkit that we've built into this and developed through the years, it basically takes us about 10 minutes, or takes the provider about 10 minutes to figure out that same amount of information.
How does security play into the picture then?
Security is big. We provide real-time and active security. Most people deploy a device. It may get the occasional firmware update. It may get the occasional once over from the IT guy, but it's sitting there and it's idle. And all these threats are constantly hitting it. And they're constantly, a lot of attacks from China, Russia, things like that. They're constantly trying to get into systems, and nobody's monitoring that. And part of our service actually actively checks that. If somebody's trying to break into your device, it's going to notify you. It's going to notify your IT guy. It's going to notify your service provider. If you're having connectivity problems, it's also going to notify that line of people. So your information is protected. If you're following a lot of these credit card breaches and things like that are going on in the industry, they're very delayed. So like the Target breach and things like that, some third party found out about the breach months later. During that time period, credit card numbers were stolen, things were used, and people were at risk. Most security breaches are detected by a third party, and only months after the breach has happened. So the damage has already been done, the information's already been stolen, it's already being put to use before somebody even knows there's a problem. And so our solution's really designed to, the second that somebody's even attempting to get at that information or attempting to tamper with, it's going to be real time. Hey, we've got a problem. You need to address this. You've put your device out of compliance. You've done this, which puts you at risk. And it's a lot more preemptive instead of waiting for somebody down the line to say, oh, you've got a serious problem and you're going to have to pay.
What about the issue of toll fraud, which at least some of the reports out there are really projecting a huge spike in toll fraud in the coming years. Can you help with that as well?
Yeah, in fact, we saw that a lot with the VoIP company. Is a lot of attacks would come in. In fact, it's something about in 2008 there was something like 2 attacks a week trying to gain access to the SIP credentials and things like that. By this year, we saw somewhere around 200 attempts a day, and it's getting worse. And we actually report that information, and the way our device is set up, if somebody attempts to gain access to a provider that uses our devices switch or their endpoints, it will actually ban them completely across their entire network. So it's very proactive. So if there's one attempt here, all the devices over here know, hey, we've got a problem. Somebody's started something here. Let's make sure we shut that down across the entire network. And it's very intuitive.
Why is there such a large number of, or why there are so many instances of businesses not properly maintaining, managing, upgrading their systems, and particularly with regards to security?
They have to get hit hard. Right now, intrusion detection insurance is starting to get up there very quickly. Most businesses are recommended to buy that as part of their insurance package. Most people don't realize, because it didn't make the news, the people that were responsible for the Target breach and things like that, they're a small firm or a third-party vendor. They probably won't make it. Mm-hmm. Target will be just fine, but it's that smaller company, even a smaller company, hundreds of employees, that may not make it because of a security breach. They don't make the news. Nobody's talking about them, and they just kind of go into the night months after, because they can't pay for the damages, and they are at risk for having to pay them.
What steps are you taking to help businesses understand more of what they need to do? Obviously, you've built a service that is going to help them, but it doesn't help until they realize that they've got to work with you or work with somebody else.
It's awareness. We do a lot of interviews. We do a lot of consulting, things like that, making people aware of it. It doesn't take long. You can go online and you can type in security breach, and there's thousands of breaches.
Sure.
Our background is, again, internet security and breaches and things like that. There's actually a website out there that pulls the amount of breaches that have been reported every year, and it's something like every American gets their security breached 8 times a year on average. Whether that information is put to use or whatever it may be, credit card information, personal information, that's how often it's happening. But because they're not doing anything with that information, a lot of businesses right now are turning a blind eye to it. But as regulation cracks down, that's going to really stop.
Are you seeing progress made in terms of awareness?
Yes and no. Because of all the major breaches recently and it's hitting the news, there's a lot more people aware of it. But because the actual not necessarily punishment, but effect is not hitting the news, you're not hearing about the vendor that caused the breach, things like that, and them going out of business, or the fines that they had, or the retribution they had to pay. Until people really start feeling that, it's going to take some time.
Got it. Eric, thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thank you.